Each week, nearly a dozen movies are released theatrically. 40 films a month, more than 400 a year. That's a plethora of cinema. Too much cinema. You'd have to be an addict to see all that, but don't fret. We've got you covered. This is Cinematics.
Hey everyone, what's up? You're here on Cinematics. It's a new week of Cinematics. We're covering movies that are coming out on Friday, May 17th, either in theaters or in both theaters, digital, and on demand. We have about 4 or 5 movies, and let me just say right now, actually 4 movies. We have Pitch People. We have You Can't Run Forever. Why can't you run forever? If you're overweight like me, I can't even run for 10 seconds. We also have Nightwatch, Demons Are Forever, aka Bruce Purkey's favorite movie of the year. We'll see what Bruce Purkey says about this Nightwatch sequel. And then finally, Faceless After Dark, which is it's not about my love life. It's actually a sort of a horror thriller, which is an interesting one. We'll see what you guys think about Faceless After Dark. These are 4 movies that we got this week. Eric Holmes, anything you want to promote, plug? What's the last week been like? Secret sauce to you? Oh, you and your sister, secret sauce, life. What's going on with you?
Yeah, actually, we're making some more sauces this week. Also, a quick note, we talked about Kyle McFadden's short Iris. I did not mention Kyle McFadden is the co-directed by A.J. Marson and written by A.J. Marson. So, and I'm sure I said his name wrong now, so double apologies, but I did want to get that out there.
Well, we're mentioning Kyle McFadden. He's been a part of the Cinematics Facebook group, a Cinematics listener, I'd say maybe for the last 3-4 years at least, and he is a very promising director. And we reviewed a movie, unbiasedly so, a short movie called Iris, which all 3 of us loved several years back. It's now available online. Eric Holmes, that was my fault. I should have nagged you last week for the link. Eric Holmes will send a link for where you can catch Kyle McFadden, co-director Kyle McFadden's Iris, who was the other co-director, Eric? Do you have
A.J. Marson.
A.J. Marson. Okay, so these talented filmmakers, Iris, very short, and very moody, atmospheric, and really well-told story. Took maybe several years to get it out online to the public. We will have that link for you. Kyle McFadden, we love you, man. And unbiasedly, we love Iris as well. Can't wait to review more stuff from McFadden and crew.
Mine is biased, but I also like it, so it works out.
Fair. Bruce, did you biasly adore Iris, or were you a unbiased journalist, movie reviewer on Iris?
I think I was pretty unbiased at the time. I feel like when we got that short, I didn't even know it before I watched it, and so I liked it before I knew who it was, and then I was biased after that too. So, and on the Kyle McFadden side view here, he messaged me during the week asking me a bunch of off the table stuff about the coffee table, because he didn't. I don't think he's one of our Patreons, so he didn't know what we talked about in the Patreon spoilers. So he wanted to know about the picture on the wall, and I would just say we might have been a little ahead on the curve on the coffee table, because I've been seeing it get lots and lots of buzz lately on YouTube, and we were there before that. And also, I think just dropped this week a lot of things, but we're not going to talk about it this week, so I'm just going to mention When Evil Lurks, I believe, is now widely available streaming online. So go check that out if you didn't yet.
Streaming online, I'm putting you on the spot, Bruce. I'm assuming it might be streaming on Shudder. Just go to Just Watch to find it.
No. It was on Shudder, but now it's gone wider. So it now, I believe you can get it on, I want to say Netflix.
Okay, When Evil Lurks, is that correct, Bruce? Is that the name?
Yeah, I'll look it up and verify it with you as we go on here.
Is that Eric Holmes? Is that a feel-good tearjerker? That movie with animals and people, and what is it? A feel-good movie?
When Evil Lurks?
Yeah, is it a family?
Oh yeah, show the kids. It's a good family movie.
Show the kids. I don't know if people should listen to Eric Holmes. Bruce Purkey, show the kids.
This is a family show. We only talk about family movies here.
Okay.
The coffee table.
A lot of Lurks. Yeah, there's a lot of family in When Evil Lurks. It's all about family.
Okay, so yeah, exactly. Eric's being facetious and dry wit. Yes, it's not for kids. It is for adults. Scary as AF. Scary as F. Eric Holmes, when you saw it, When Evil Lurks. You know what? When you saw When Evil Lurks, if I recall, you didn't love it as much as Bruce. Am I wrong on this, or did you love it a lot when the first time you saw When Evil Lurks?
I remember a lot. I think Bruce was the one that was carrying the torch mostly, but I mean, it was still a good movie. Okay. It was just one of those, like, sometimes it's like we all like it, but one of us likes it like way more than the other one.
Well, yes, it's very hard for Bruce to actually champion and love a movie so much. I'm thinking
he hates movies so much.
I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say it. Yes, Eric. Okay, let's just the truth's out there. Bruce hates a lot of movies, but when he champions a movie, he really does champion it. When Evil Lurks, for the lay person when they go see it streaming, why do you love this movie so much, and why are you such a strong recommend on this movie, Bruce?
I looked it up, but it said Hulu on Just Watch, so I'm going to believe that Just Watch is correct.
Right. Thank you, Bruce.
For the layperson, probably not a great movie, honestly.
Okay.
For the horror fan, I like a horror movie that comes along every so often where it's got some really interesting world building. It does something with a subgenre or a type of horror movie that hasn't quite been done, or gives it a twist that you haven't seen. This last year, we had a whole bunch of kind of possession-centric movies, and this is kind of one of those, but so different than... I think it's different for a possession movie in any way that I've seen before. And it has some truly horrifying, shocking moments in it, which you don't get a lot these days. Like moments where where you even see that it's coming, kind of. And then it still gets you, and then you still go like, oh, and it's still, oh no, it's going there, that kind of a movie. So I appreciate that as a horror fan.
Very, very cool. Again, like Bruce said, it's currently, as of this recording, streaming on Hulu. Speaking of Bruce Purkey, he actually did a poll for Eric Holmes, because Eric Holmes has just been busy interviewing pretty much the world the last 7 days. He's just been...
And I don't know how to do polls.
Okay.
That's not a joke.
I have no problem doing polls. Bring your polls. I will do them.
Family show, Eric. Okay, so speaking of polls, Bruce Purkey, thank you for this. Roar, Nighthawks, and Zombie 2 are the top films that we may do for the second film. This month's bonus episode spotlights year 1981. Eric's choice, because it's Eric's turn for the bonus Patreon episode. We're going to review Outland, which stars Sean Connery, directed by, I think, Peter Hyams, if I recall. I think Eric Holmes or Bruce mentioned that last week. But Roar, Nighthawks, and Zombie 2 are in our top 3. This is my fault. I'm going to reach out to our Patreon members. Patreon members, if you're listening to this episode, your vote is like 500 votes. So whatever you guys want, if Roar, Nighthawks, and Zombie 2 are among your favorites, vote for them. If not, there might be a movie that you might like. Patreon members, I will reach out to you on our Patreon feed to see what movies from 1981 you like, and we'll just roll it up. And if it's a Patreon members get a higher, Bruce didn't know this. I'm just pulling the rug under him. They get the higher. They get the reserve table. Bruce, does that mean is that very aristocratic for me?
I mean, I guess you'd ask Eric. It's Eric's month, so I guess he would have the final say of how this month runs. I don't know. Should
I be death by guillotine just for my comments about the Patreon members go to the top of the line? What do you think, Eric? Viva la Revolution, cut off Greg's head for saying such blasphemous things to our.
Well, I suppose it's my time of the month, then I'm fine with it.
You're fine with it. Okay, so we will reach out to you, Patreon members, and for the Commonwealth, for our Cinematics Facebook group members. Thank you for your votes for Roar, Nighthawks, and Zombie 2. One of these movies or a Patreon pick will be our second movie. Again, that first movie is Outland. Lastly, before the feature, Eric has changed the actual domain name for our merch. It's cinematicspodcast.com. Eric, do you want to... I know you haven't done work the last couple of weeks. You've been really busy. What else do you want to say about this merch? Because you've been doing a lot of work. You're changing the domain name. Why'd you do it?
Oh, so we had it at findyourfilmpodcast.com. Every year you have to repay for the thing. I can't remember how much it is.
$24.
And I was like, well, we don't really use Find Your Film that much anymore, so might as well just call it cinematicspodcast.com.
Very good.
So I switched it to that.
So for our shirts, for shower curtains,
make everything more cohesive and
cohesive. Cinematicspodcast.com for our merch. What can we find there? We can find paddle tennis things, and we can find shirts.
I mean, well, first of all, we still have Find Your Film merch, and
good.
I mean, the Find Your Film logo,
good,
made by Juan Diego Escobar Zate, one of the best logos ever. We're never getting rid of that, but
very good.
Very good. You can still get that there. We do have a Cinema Dicks paddle ball. It's family show.
Very good. Yes,
we got a banger season tank top because it's always banger season. We got a couple Cinema. Greg Slick shirt.
Okay, yes,
get yourself a nice Greg Slick shirt.
I remember Andrew Martin bought that months ago, and Andrew Martin supported our merch. And also, who also supported us is William Lindis, one of the co-hosts over at the Movie Bears podcast, as well as Peter Beta from Middle Class Film Class. And did I say Movie Bears podcast for William Lindis? Yes, and Peter Beta from Middle Class Film Class. He's podcaster support.
I need to check. I believe the shower curtain's still up.
Okay, shower curtain.
We've still sold upwards of 0 of them.
What about Bruce's horse-drawn carriage from the Giallo film? Did you put that there? The horse-drawn carriage from several years ago from Find Your Film, Eric Holmes?
No, I didn't. But send me the picture and I will.
Please generate that on Teespring, because Teespring can do a lot of things. Talk about 3D printing. They can actually do horse-drawn carriages thanks to the power of Bruce Purkey. Again, that is not findyourfilmpodcast.com. It is cinematics.podcast.com. Thank you, Eric. Yes, sir.
I do want to just kind of throw this out there. We are a family show.
Yes, we are.
One of the things that helps create families is sex. So if there's any people that work in the sex toy industry, we would love to work with you with the Cinematics.
Oh, okay.
Things.
Okay, family show. This is not exploitative. This is more in the cohabiting and furthering, propagating the race, right?
Bring puns to life is what we were trying to do.
To life. Cinematics.podcast.com. And how much of a stand-up guy is Eric Holmes? He's been paying for the domain the last 2-3 years.
Speaking
I had
of
no idea.
Cinematics.
Yeah. He's been actually fronting the money. I made sure. Did you get my PayPal payment? I gave you a little bit of cash the last couple of years of the. Yes. Eric, you should have told me. Bruce, he's not like you. He's not generous financially. He bills me every single second he's on the show, right, Bruce?
Billable hours, baby.
Billable hours. Yes, part of that billable hours is on our featured reviews, which Bruce Purkey is going to headline. It's called Faceless After Dark, and it stars Jenna Cannell. She's also a co-writer in this film, and she is a B-movie actress. She has this, I forgot the name of the catchphrase. She kills a clown, I believe, in this movie. And she gets so much cult status that she goes into, it starts off with her at a convention, but then she realizes that the actual clown gets more benefits for her financially. The clown got an actual appearance, money to actually appear in the convention. And she realizes that she's still a struggling actress. And even though she's so famous for that catchphrase she never wanted to say in the beginning, she feels like she's a little bit underpaid, undervalued. She has a girlfriend who is a more successful actress. They live, I'm assuming, somewhere in the Hollywood Hills. And there's also her best friend is an Asian American up and coming director, and they're best friends. So upon seeing her friends doing so well, this actress, again played by Jenna Cannell, she decides to create her own movie. The catch is creating your own movie, horror movie. What can she do? No cast, no crew, maybe not have the greatest camera available, might only have an iPhone or a Samsung Galaxy, I think. Well,
it makes Skinamarink.
The Nick Skin. Very good, Eric. Very good. The Nick Skin and Rick. No, she does not. She does stuff with skin. She does some very brutal acts to people who, well, it's sort of a revenge horror film, but also takes a social look at the underappreciation of, I believe, horror actors and horror filmmakers within this genre. Has a lot of things going for it. Low budget indie. Bruce, Faceless After Dark. Again, low budget indie. Interesting concept, possibly. Did this movie grab you, or were you left lukewarm by this experience?
I was pretty okay shape on this movie. First of all, I think movie starts with her filming the finale of the clown movie and reluctantly doing that catchphrase. Like she hates it. She doesn't want to do this catchphrase. And so you see that, and then you have the kind of the cut afterwards of like, this has become kind of a cult hit, and she is plagued by the catchphrase. Like it is the albatross that, or I don't know, what is it? The stone around her neck, she's going to take it everywhere.
Yes. And it's not benefiting her at all. It's just...
No. Yeah. No. And she's like, and you're seeing constantly the different versions of social media, the creepy dudes of various sorts, or the people who are haters who are giving her lots of grief, and just kind of that buzz that you might get, especially being part of a cult film and being accessible on social media. Like, how would that come back to you? So you're getting a lot of that as kind of the context that kind of creates this movie. Also, there's a meta context to this movie because she, as an actual actress, played a main role in Terrifier, where she, of course, is being stalked by a killer clown. So,
did you see that movie? I didn't see that movie.
Yeah, I don't really like the Terrifier movies, but they have a place. They are definitely kind of shock exploitation horror, I guess. But to me, they're kind of cynical. But people are loving them, and I think even Anderson loves the Art the Clown character. And there's some fun to be had there. Either way, that's kind of beside the point. The idea is kind of like, life imitates art, art imitates life, kind of a thing going on here. And it's a very low budget, but I guess, okay, here's what I appreciate about this movie. The things I appreciate about this movie is it has a real energy to it. I really feel like the independent filmmakers are trying to make something that they care about and trying to have a good time with it and trying to do something, whether you love it or not. I feel some genuine energy behind this, and I appreciate that quite a bit.
They're trying to stretch that dollar in their budget.
Yeah. And I think that our lead here, Jenna Cannell, is very charismatic as well. I think and it's kind of fun to see this there is kind of a political edge to it too, if you want to see it. I kind of think of movies like was it The Last Supper, and some of these movies that are very like self-consciously like playing with the politics of the world and kind of making it into a horror movie. And that's happening a little here too, although you can just have it as a horror movie as well. I guess my downside to this is I almost wanted a little more gusto in the horror elements. I feel like it would go right to the edge and pull back a little bit, and I was like, hey, just go all the way. But that's my taste. I could see some people being turned off if it did that. So but overall I had a pretty good time with it.
Right. Jenna Cannell is very charismatic. She's good, and she co-wrote it. And this movie feels like a personal film, like because she co-wrote it, like you said, sort of might be somewhat inspired by her own life as an actress. And for the low budget, director Raymond Wood does a pretty credible job at making this. Well, there is a strobe light effect, which they actually warn you at the beginning. If you do not like the strobing lighting effect, it might be for people who are photosensitive, not possibly avoid. They warn you at the beginning, but when certain kills happen, it usually cuts to, I think, an off red or something like that. There's some really good visual aesthetic amidst the budget. So I thought Terrifier was pretty solid as an indie film and headlined by a very good performance by Jenna Cannell. I'm giving it 3.5 out of 5 stars in theaters and digital platforms May 17th. What about you, Bruce?
I think I'll go exactly the same. I'll go 3.5. I think mileage will vary for people. I think the biggest thing I would call out is it's very low budget. So don't, this is going to be a little rough around the edges. So either give it that and go with the energy of it. I think you'll have a good time with it. But, everyone will have their own experience. Maybe this is the one where I'm on the wrong side of the page for people, but we'll see.
Well, maybe we're on the wrong side, but I do like the energy and the effort. I didn't feel throughout the experience, I knew this was low budget, but I didn't feel it was cheap. So that was very, very interesting about this movie as far as the intent, the execution, Bruce, like you were mentioning in your review. So
yeah, and it kept moving and it kept introducing a new, I guess, victim, and each victim had its own flair, and that's kind of what you want in these sort of movies. And you kind of when you kind of know what's going to happen as far as the general flow, when you see a new type of character come into play, you're like, oh, okay, what's going to happen to this one? That kind of a thing happens. So yeah, good time.
All right, 3.5 stars for me and Bruce for Faceless After Dark, again in theaters and digital platforms May 17th, directed by Raymond Wood and headlined by Jenna Cannell. That's how you pronounce her name. Eric Holmes, you're the only one in this group who has seen the documentary Pitch People. Here's the catch. Pitch People, it does come out, available on Prime Video, Google Play, and iTunes on May 17th. What is it about? It's celebrating its 25th anniversary. It was restored in 4K. I actually saw the trailer. It looks interesting. Did the movie hit Pitch People, the documentary? Did it hit the mark for you?
Yeah, I don't know if I got this right, but this was done in 1999 and just now being
25th
released?
anniversary. 25th anniversary, restored, 4K. They're doing it. They restored.
But I mean,
Yeah.
with all that stuff, I was under the impression that it came out, played in like festivals, but never got distribution until just now.
Possibly you're right with that too.
I don't know if that's true or not, but
I think you might be right. This might be a first-time release for Pitch People. Bottom line is maybe
George Romero's amusement park kind of thing. Like
Sure.
There's probably like a small handful of people that saw it when it came out, but then that was like 50 years later, however long it was. But yeah, Pitch People, it's basically just about salesmen. I guess you would call them carnival barkers, but they don't necessarily work at a carnival. They're like people with Ginsu knives or a particular inventions, stuff you would see on what they call it, like QVC kind of stuff. They talk to a lot of the salespeople and kind of how they got their start, their version of what makes a good salesperson, what makes a bad one. I'm making a terrible one because I'm not a pitch person. I just watch movies and talk about them. However, this is a movie I think Greg, you would be all over this movie.
Mr. Popey's in it, right? Mr. Popey? Bruce, remember Mr. Popey?
Ron Popey?
Ron Popey's in it, right? I mean, he was in the trailer. I mean, his pitch stuff was in the trailer, at least.
There are the weird thing about it is I think some of these salespeople are charlatans. Like they have a part where they're showing this thing that you press it down and cubes out potatoes and make French fries, that sort of thing. And then they're about to record the thing and they're showing it like not working and how they have to adjust it. So when they go there, it makes it look like any dummy can work it. But then of course you buy it and then you bring it home. It's like why am I stupid? This isn't working. It's like, well, you didn't treat it before recording like they did. So there's definitely elements of that. But the whole idea of what it means to be a salesperson, I think Greg especially, like, you would get a lot out of this. And
because I'm a salesperson, charlatan. Is that what you're trying to say? I'm like Mr. Pope.
No, not the charlatan part.
Hey, you know what, Bruce? Bruce, do you still have my Ginsu knives? Like, I'm gonna put it out right there. 17. She's 17.
I'm cutting beer cans in half with them right now. Leave me alone.
No, but it's like I think there's kind of a lot of crossover with, like, promoting podcasts, stuff like that, interviewing, the stuff we do here on the podcast. There's a lot of crossover to be learned with that. I'm just not naturally gifted with that the way these people are, but I think it's like, if you're into that sort of thing, or even like I'm not, but it's still interesting to watch, like, these people, like kind of like you ever like see like a documentary on, like, say, a sport or an event that you know nothing about it.
Sure.
But then you're kind of like, you recognize that these people in the thing are good at the thing they're doing. That's kind of what this is.
Eric, in the 90s, didn't you stay up late and you'd see all these pitch people at the end with these things on your TV, the local stations? Bruce, you and I grew up on this stuff, so we probably pay all these people. Do you remember that? Do you have any kind of
like I remember them, but like it was kind of background noise. Like I wasn't really paying attention. This, since it's in the context of a documentary, I'm watching this as hey, these people are really good at their job, and then I can start recognizing things that they're doing that's pretty impressive once you know what you're looking for, I guess.
So would you recommend this documentary for the pitch people? Are they interesting enough to watch?
Yeah. So the only drawback is that that's kind of all the documentary is. So like maybe after the first 15 minutes, it'll start kind of, or I'd say first 20, 30 minutes, it kind of starts losing its sheen a bit. Like, all right, they're really good at selling. I've seen 15 of them do it at this point, and now here's the 16th one. But yeah, I think people might get more interest out of this than you might think at first.
Okay, are they interviewed? Are these pitch people interviewed? Are they taken to task, or are they just? Is it a puff piece? Where if it's a puff piece, I'm fine.
It's definitely a puff piece, because there's bits that I think are unethical in the way that they're doing things, and the documentary doesn't seem to mind that so much. So in that regard, I mean, it's definitely like my father was a salesman, his father before him, and now I'm a salesman, blah, blah, blah. So it's more about the craft of sales and pitching. Oh, here's another thing, because I figure we got a couple aspiring filmmakers to listen to this. If you're going in to pitch a script, watch this first. It'll get you in the right mind frame to be able to get in that sort of mode.
What is that specific? Can you specifically say what is that? Is it sort of a shark mind frame when you go into the pitch if you're a writer?
No, kind of.
What do they have? What do they have that you think is beneficial to writers?
I guess it shows that they're not doing magic. They're just confident in what they're doing.
Okay,
that seems to be the secret sauce with what they do. Like, look, I got the sharpest knife in the world. I've practiced my pitch and the demonstrations and everything. By the time they get in front of the public, they're so familiar with the pitch that they can be kind of relaxed and not even think about what they're doing. And that works to their advantage, because then that kind of confidence rubs off on the people watching them. And they're like, hell yeah, I'll give you $20 for a chamois. Seems reasonable to me. The weird thing is, though,
yes,
that this came out in 1999,
right?
Didn't find distribution until just now. So perhaps the filmmakers didn't learn the lesson that they should have in pitch people.
Oh, that's very
ironically.
Okay, but it's still it's dated. It's 25 years since, but it's still engaging. It's still worth it.
Oh yeah, I think it's definitely a good documentary. Okay. And again, it's like kind of goes over the same points again.
I'm trying to pitch this movie, pitch people to listeners. Yeah. So am I doing okay?
This documentary slices, dices. It'll pick up any stain out of your carpet, and it'll take your dog out for a walk so you don't have to.
Listeners, Bruce, what do listeners?
And it can be yours on Amazon for the low price of $49.95.
That is pitch people. What is your rating on this documentary?
I'd probably go three stars on this.
3 stars. Yeah,
from actually probably 3.5, because I like
3.5 from Eric Holmes.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting, and I didn't think it would be.
Okay, very good.
Yeah. That's on the shelf for 25 years, and now you get to watch it. Watch a piece of history. Hey, I'd love to watch a 1999 movie, but now, And you can do that with Pitch People.
Very good pitch.
Buy it now on Amazon for $86.27.
So you're a good pitch person. I'm a decent
See,
pitch
the price
person.
keeps going up, Greg. You gotta buy now. You gotta act now.
Act now. Bruce Purkey, you have been the only person who hasn't done pitching. Me and Eric nominate you to be our actual Cinematics pitch person so we can get 10,000 Patreon members on Cinematics and 10,000 subs. Bruce,
I'm so sorry. So sorry how much we're going to fail.
Okay. Well, Eric, can you actually give Bruce the code, the screening link to Pitch People and have him watch it on loop for the next week? I won't be here next week, folks. So it's going to be a Bruce and Eric show.
I'll do you one better. Bruce, do you want the screening link for Pitch People? Of course you do, and I'll tell you why. It's a great documentary that you can buy now on Amazon for $172.73. Price keeps going up, so act now. But you can get it for the low price of $9.95 if you can get us up to 1,000 subscribers.
Very good. On YouTube. That's what we're trying to reach. Very good pitch, Eric. Yes.
Is that all? Is that all?
That's all you got to do.
Eric is actually not lying. So yes, Bruce. What was Eric's? Me and Eric doing a good job at pitching you? What do you think?
I'm sold. I wait. Hang on.
I did it.
I'm getting out my checkbook like a grandma.
Okay. Now that is 3.5 stars for Pitch People. From Eric Holmes. Thank you for watching that documentary. There are movies that exist and they're just kind of all over the place. There's a movie called Nightwatch, Demons Are Forever. It is a sequel to Nightwatch, which was directed and I believe written by Ole Bornedal. I don't know. Bruce, you can help me on that pronunciation. I hope I get it. Ole Bornedal. He directed the movie in 1994. That Danish movie was a big hit. Several years later, he made it into a remake starring Ewan McGregor. That remake was not as well received as the original. 94, 97. Like Eric was saying with Pitch People, that was 99. Then the 90s are back. Can you believe almost 30 years later, basically 30 years later, there is a sequel to Nightwatch called Nightwatch Demons Are Forever. Bruce has done me one better. He's actually, I believe he saw Nightwatch maybe 30 years ago, or maybe recently. He can give a little bit of perspective. But Nightwatch Demons Are Forever centers on a 22-year-old med student named Emma, played by Fanny Leander Bornedal. Yes, Fanny is the daughter of Ole. And so Emma, she takes a job at the Nightwatch. The Nightwatch is where the bodies are not buried. There's a lot of corpses in this area. And the reason why she takes this job is because that is the same area where her parents were traumatized 30 years ago. Her father is played by Nikolai Coster-Waldau. You might know him as the Kingslayer from Game of Thrones. He plays Martin. He was there in the original. He is not the Kingslayer in this movie. He's a shell of himself because even 30 years later, he is traumatized. He does not want to tell his daughter anything about what transpired 30 years ago. This is not a spoiler because this is setting the table for the plot. Martin is a widower, because his wife committed suicide years later. So while Martin is traumatized by what happened in 94, he's also traumatized by the suicide of his wife. The daughter is understandably traumatized by her mother's suicide. So she tries to get this job at this Nightwatch to find out what the heck happened. And then a lot of the characters from Nightwatch appear in the sequel. That's pretty much the setup. And you figure out what made that whole Nightwatch area so evil and despicable and violent and whatnot. Bruce, Nightwatch, Demons Are Forever. It runs 113 minutes, written and directed by Ole Bornedal. Does this movie work for you?
Sometimes, somewhat. I guess. Here's the problem with this movie. Or here is one of the weird things about this movie, I guess I'd say. First of all, I don't know how big this movie is was it Sweden, you said? Is that the homeland of this?
Yeah, it's a Danish movie, so I'm horrible. Yeah.
Denmark. Okay, yeah, Denmark. All right. So I don't know how big it is there, because this movie is presented to us like a requel, reboot quill, whatever you call them, of this legacy property, like a Scream or a Star Wars. Pick these movies that are beloved, right? And we're going to bring back kind of a new version of it, kind of the same, but also kind of new. And we'll bring back some legacy characters just so people can have those remembrances of what happened in the past. I don't know about most people in America. Maybe this was way more beloved than it was for me. I remember it being fine. I remember this being an okay thriller in its time. I don't remember it being super remarkable. Kind of memorable because it was, at that time, it was much more rare, I think, for international movies, genre movies especially, to kind of break big in America and have kind of this American appeal crossover. It didn't happen as much, I don't feel like, as it does now. There wasn't just the access, I don't think. But whatever the case is, this movie treats it like this is beloved property and that we're just waiting for this to happen. So that all right out of the gate didn't quite work for me. I'm like, I don't remember it that well, but okay, sure. And they do a fairly good job in this movie of kind of filling in the gaps if you didn't know. They have some very exposition heavy moments to kind of say, hey, this is where your mom and I were hogtied and we were being terrorized by the guy. They go through some pretty big moments to let you know exactly what happened to the characters formerly. The problem I had with this movie is it's kind of like a 90s movie in a lot of ways, which may be good for some people. But boy, oh boy, is this movie like, who is the bad guy? It's pretty easy to figure out who the bad guy is in this movie. And then the other thing about this is kind of one of the big selling points of the original movie was, here's this guy, he has to go to this place every night. He's all alone as this Nightwatch person in this creepy environment that's, housing all the corpses and all the medical stuff. And all of a sudden killings start happening. And wow, that's a great kind of a, semi-isolated setting for this to happen. And they introduce it again, like she's going to take her dad's job. That's crazy, but you're going to do it. Okay. She's going to take her dad's job. And then it really is never used much in this movie. It's kind of a red herring.
That's a very good point, Bruce. Yeah.
It's like it's there, but okay. And then you take all that, you take some sort of predictability of who the bad person really is and probably why they're doing what they're doing. It's pretty easy to figure out. Even if you don't figure that out, even if you figure it out and you don't care, there's so little threat in this movie. And I'm not going to spoil things, obviously, but there are multiple things that are supposed to be threats to multiple people that just really aren't very threatening. And the way they play out is very like, oh, okay, that's all it took to get rid of that threat. And take on top of that and add some super tropey stuff, for example. And once again, I won't say exactly the situation, but let's just say there's a character at one point who is trying to be very quiet because they're being stalked by another character. And the person who's trying to be very quiet at one point starts hammering on walls and yelling in the vicinity of the person that is stalking them. Stuff like that. Just if you're a fan of these kind of movies, that drives you crazy. It's like, you got to have at least a modicum of logic, So yeah, I think it was pretty mediocre at best.
Okay, so Emma, played by, again, Fanny Leander Bornadal. Again, she's the daughter of Ole Bornadal. I thought she was great in the movie. I thought she was fine.
She's fine. I have no problem with her.
Oh, no. I'm not saying that you did, but I don't want to. This gets into spoiler territory. But when you look at the actions that Emma did, as far as throwing a rock in a hornet's nest, the dominoes that fall inexplicably, just in this movie, it's like,
I'm going to spit in the face of somebody. Let's just say that. Like, what?
Right.
On camera.
Be kind to people, please. And he just unrolls the whole domino effect, which leads a lot of people on the other side of living. Okay, that's one thing. Also, one of the most interesting moments and tense moments doesn't come from her character. One of her close friends, she's another woman. I don't have her name here. She's very good in this movie in a supporting role, and I was more interested in her sequence with possibly a perpetrator or a killer. And that felt really tense. So that's an added value because I thought that.
But that wrapped up really easily too.
Sure.
Yeah. That perpetrator had a moment where they escaped from someplace in one of the most ludicrous ways ever. If you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
A parade of sorts came by.
Sure.
I was like, what is happening?
Everything that Bruce is saying is true.
It's not.
Again, my favorite director is Brian De Palma. There is some nonsensical stuff in Nightwatch, Demons Are Forever. Also, the pacing is off because at 113 minutes, Bruce, I don't know if you agree, this could have been a tight 90-minute thriller, and it goes on for quite a while and veers off to so many directions.
I'm thinking of a scene in a stadium that probably didn't have to be there at all.
Right. Yeah. Bruce, do you want a 5-minute diatribe on what I did in Thailand back in the day? No, not really.
Sure, why not? Let's just do it.
All that said, I love this movie. I love Nightwatch, Demons Are Forever. It is messy. It is all over the place. I can see a lot of the logical flaws, but I just had a great time with Nightwatch, Demons Are Forever. Love the performances. Really enjoyed the wrap up. I'm giving it 4 stars. I think this was a fun watch. I can't wait, and this is going to make me watch the original. So as far as the world building, Bruce, you were saying, maybe the first time you saw it 30 years ago. This is making me want to go see the original, which obviously it did not make you want to go see the original or rewatch it again. But for me, Nightwatch, Demons Are Forever, 4 out of 5 stars. It is streaming on Shudder starting May 17th. Bruce, any final thoughts or whatever, and your rating?
Yeah, I probably only go 2.5 stars. And for me, honestly, if he would have just remade the movie with his daughter in the lead and just remade it
again,
it would have been a better movie.
You want him to make it a third time? Oh,
I might as well. He's not doing anything better here. So
okay, all right. So
has any director ever remade their same movie 3 times?
I had to,
that would be something right there. A trilogy of the same movie.
Folks, if you're a fan of scalping.
I was going to say Sam Raimi, but he only did Evil Dead twice and then Army of Darkness.
Folks,
a lot of them have made theirs twice, but I don't think anyone's ever made theirs 3 times.
Folks, if you're a fan of scalping and throat cuts, Nightwatch Demons Are Forever might be for you. This is one of these things where I just had a good time. I know people might put me to task for the 4 out of 5. 2.5 stars for Bruce. Again, Friday, May 17th, streaming on Shudder. You can't wait forever.
Ole. What? I'm just going to say ole. Listen to me here. Listen up.
I like
you
parade,
could be
Bruce.
The chubby checkers of filmmaking.
Bruce,
you can keep making the same film over and over again. Just do it.
You're something else. Okay. Tell us what you, most importantly, Bruce and I disagree with this. Watch it. Well, Bruce is going to tell you not to watch it, but tell us what you think. What camp do you lie on? Maybe Bruce will have Eric, if you have time, if he has time, maybe he'll do a rewind. No, actually, Bruce, he shouldn't even do a rewind, huh? Bruce, no.
I mean, it's not terrible. He could. I mean, your mileage may vary on this one for sure. It's get a few drinks and a couple friends over. You probably have fun enough time.
I don't think I need to. And you know why?
Why?
I saw the Pitch People documentary. I already know how to sell this.
Very, very good, Eric.
Hey, listeners, are you a cult leader, a Satanist? Do you love to kill children at the wee hours of night? But your demons just keep getting expired. What you need is Nightwatch. Demons are forever. They always last. They cut, dice, slice, kill, maim. They do all that for a low price of $666.69 on Amazon Prime. Act now, because prices will go up by the end of the week.
Very good. Thank you so much for that, Eric Holmes.
5 stars.
Of 3 stars. Well, look, Eric Holmes does not have to pitch too much. This movie called You Can't Run Forever stars J.K. Simmons. The movie starts with J.K. Simmons. He's on a bike, goes to a gas station. There's a guy. He's walking the dog sort of to the corner in a wooded area. And that guy walking the dog is yelling at his dog. And then there's 2 people next to him, and they're telling him to shut the dog up. And they're being annoying. The guy with the dog's being annoying. And J.K. Simmons, you can tell right from the get-go as he's getting gas for his motorcycle, you don't want to F with this guy. So what happens in the gas station is he takes out several people in the gas station with a gun, and he leaves a couple of people, the ones who did not annoy him, alive. That is a premise of You Can't Run Forever. There is a reason why he is a sociopath, and that it is explained in You Can't Run Forever. It's also explained in the trailer, which I don't know, Eric.
I would avoid the trailer.
I would avoid the trailer.
Just going cold.
Going cold. We set it up for you. There is a sociopath on the loose, and he's tracking down a teenage girl played by Isabel Anaya out in the middle of the woods. And most of the movie centers on this teenager as she's trying to run away from this killer. Also, it intercuts with the teenager trying to talk to her mother, who is understandably distressed, and her mother is part of this triangle where she is trying to make sure her daughter is safe out in the woods, and she's also trying to call that killer, played by J.K. Simmons, and go have a chess game with him as well. You Can't Run Forever is directed by and co-written by Michelle Schumacher. It's a family affair. Eric, you want to talk about why this movie is sort of a family affair? Pretty much a family affair.
Yeah, so J.K. Simmons and Michelle Schumacher are married. It also stars J.K. Simmons' daughter, Olivia Simmons. Music's done by his son, Joe Simmons, and I believe Randall Schumacher, their uncle, who's the producer. And I did some looking back, and apparently this is the second movie they've done. And after talking with Joe and Olivia, apparently that's just something they do. Just like once in a while, it's like, hey guys, want to get together and make a movie? Might as well. We all do this stuff. So, and this turned out really, really damn good. We always talk about like this is first of all, J.K. Simmons is a serial killer hunting someone through the woods.
Yeah.
Okay, my sales pitch is done. That's all you need.
That's
it. It even goes a separate, because we talk about movies that are some movies just like take the simple approach and just distill it down to what it is.
And that can work.
Usually that works better, because too many times they think they need to throw extra crap on it. And it's like, no, just keep it simple. And this kind of has that, but then it veers outside of that. And the extra stuff that would normally be really annoying or extraneous or come on, let's move it along, actually it works in this. Like when you start finding out who J.K. Simmons is and why he's after Miranda and like all that stuff, because before it's just, oh, he's a serial killer going after him. But then as the movie goes on and you start kind of, they start peeling the onion, so to speak, that part starts getting really interesting. And yeah, this thing's a banger. I love this movie.
The teenage girl, she's not played by Isabel Anaya. She's not annoying. She's good in the movie. She has to carry a portion of the movie as well. And Eric, like you said, it veers off in so many directions that even the supporting characters, there's two deputy sheriffs who are waiting for some backup and some help. And it starts off with them being a little bit comedic and irresponsible and in over their heads. You get to see where those characters go towards the end of the movie. That's pretty well developed. But even the smaller characters, Eric was mentioning the mother who you actually interviewed a week ago.
Fernanda Rejola.
She's very good in this movie. She has a whole separate situation where she's on the phone talking to both her daughter and then separately with the killer. And she has her own moments in this movie as well. Olivia Simmons, again, the daughter, she has a very interesting arc as well in this movie. She does some very interesting stuff with her friends when they go out into the woods and whatnot, and you're going, no. There's a lot of stuff to really actually dig about You Can't Run Forever. This is sort of an upscale in the genre for me, Eric. Surprisingly so. Yeah?
Yeah. It's, I mean, not. I don't want to get much past what it's kind of. Well, it's kind of sold as a whole thing, because again, just avoid the trailer. Do not watch the trailer. The trailer gives away way too much. I guess there's still a couple surprises left in it, but if you watch the trailer, you're getting that. It just cut it off at the knees, I think.
Yeah, no, I watched the trailer before watching the movie. I would have liked to have not watched the trailer. That said, I still enjoyed it. But listen to what Eric said. Don't watch this trailer.
Last Stop in Yuma County kind of had that same thing. Like the trailer for that, like the first half of the Last Stop in Yuma County trailer, like that's all you need. That'll get you sold. The last half is like too much.
All right, so You Can't Run Forever. This is going to be our spoiler discussion this week for our Patreon members. Eric and I will jump on after the recording show for like maybe a 5 to 7 minute discussion on why we really enjoyed You Can't Run Forever. They do a couple of interesting things, in my opinion, regarding the third act. I don't know if you agree with that, Eric, but we're going to discuss. We're going to discuss some of the spoiler stuff for You Can't Run Forever. Again, for me, in the upscale of this crime revenge thriller genre, I'm surprisingly giving this movie 4 out of 5 stars in theaters, on digital, on demand, Friday, May 17th. Final thoughts, Eric, and your rating.
I'll go a little higher and go 4.5. One, because it's just really entertaining, thrilling, suspenseful movie, but also I like the family dynamic of this. I didn't know this while watching the first time, but after finding out that it's like, hey guys, let's go make a movie, and then like that, you can kind of like forgive it some of its flaws, but the fact that they were able to do that and it turns out as good as it was is both charming and just impressive, just because it's a fun movie.
It's like reverse Death Wish meets a family drama, which is what's right. How is that for a pitch, folks? How's that for a pitch?
Falling down in the woods.
You Can't Run Forever. 4.5 stars. 4 for me. This might be our pick of the week in theaters, on digital, and on demand Friday.
It's definitely mine, but I would like to pitch it.
Okay, let's hear it.
You can't run forever, but sometimes a guy named Wade that looks suspiciously like J.K. Simmons is following you through the woods, and you're running and you run through the woods, and you know what? It's getting dark. You're getting cold. You need a hoodie that you can find at cinematicspodcast.com. And after all that running, of course, you're going to get thirsty. And why not use a Cinematics pint glass also that you can get at cinematics.podcast.com for the low price of $19.69. But you know what? When you're running forever, it's not always during the summertime. Sometimes it's during the winter time, in which case you will need a Cinematics black coffee mug for the low price at $15.69 at cinematics.podcast.com. You too can have that Cinematics black coffee mug.
And act now, prices are going up by the second.
Act now, prices will go up, but the
very good, Eric Holmes.
Prices go up, and the quality remains the same.
Bruce, should we have Eric Holmes, a showman, every single week doing
yes,
little tap
I would
dance?
say yes. Tap dance for your supper, buddy.
Very, very good. Excellent stuff, Eric. Again, that I guess is our top pick of the week. We're going to close out the show with a couple of recommends. Bruce, I mentioned one movie, but I'm going to let you be the boss of this. You can do a lightning round. You can do whatever you want. Talk about a recommend for this week, or maybe 2 or 3, or you can do whatever you want.
Well, for sure, mention the one, and I might just lightning mention the other 2 because they're just, people know about them and they can find them really easy. But just this last week, the Iron Claw dropped on your face, pushed you to the ground. But the Iron Claw, which came out, I think, around November, December last year, A24, if I remember correctly,
sure,
was kind of out there to see if they could get some award season buzz and all that kind of stuff. But if you're like me, and a lot of people probably did not have a chance to go see it or didn't get around to seeing it, so now it is on Max. And I thought, cool, watch the Iron Claw. Directed by Sean Durkin, who also hasn't directed a ton of movies, but did direct Marcy Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. I get the name right. I think this director should probably do more because pretty cool stuff they put out. If you don't know what the Iron Claw is about, and Eric, did you watch this movie? I can't remember if you watched it when it came out. Yep. This seems like one that Eric would definitely be interested in watching if he has not seen it.
Well, know what, Bruce? Sorry.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that Eric has not seen this movie because did you grow up a Von Erich fan, family fan, growing up maybe wrestling? Because one of the reasons I don't want to watch
Texas Tornado because he kind of looked like Ultimate Warrior without face paint. But actually, I was supposed to watch this with Brad Finney, and then we never did, and then he passed away. So, but yeah, I should probably at least watch it in his honor, if nothing else.
It's just so sad. As a kid, Bruce, you and I grew up in the '80s with wrestling, and I'm assuming you knew the Von Erich stuff. It's just.
Yeah, I don't know if I knew all of it, or I might have heard it and it kind of faded away, but I knew the basic strokes. But I mean, in essence, this is a biopic, but an elevated biopic, I would say, basically about the Von Erich family. They have a patriarch, and very well played by Holt McCallany. I don't know if I say his name right. He was also McCallany.
I'm thinking like Rob McElhenney. So
McElhenney. It might be. You might be right.
Or McCallany. Either one.
He's a great
actor. The guy from Mindhunter.
Yes, I was going to say from Mindhunter. That's where I knew him from. But he's been in a bunch of things, and he's just one of those guys like Brian Dennehy or something. Just a burly guy that looks like he might be a drill instructor or a football coach or both, and he just
or a dad.
He scares you. You see this guy, so he's perfect for this kind of ex wrestler that never quite made it to the top, who's raising many sons. I think they even cut a son out of the actual history of this. I think there's even more sons than they show here, but in this one there's 4 sons. Most notably, you've got Zac Efron, juiced beyond belief, and you've got Jeremy Allen White. Those are the 2 real hot names right now. But other than that, they're all done really well. And this is one of those things where even myself and Greg, if you kind of know where the story's heading, they still have the ability in this movie, in the first half of this movie, to draw you into the characters and to have you rooting for them and worrying about them and rooting for them and wanting things to happen, or being upset with the dad being such a kind of a stage dad in a sense, and it's like any good quote tragedy. You hope for a different outcome knowing there won't be a different outcome, and the outcome doesn't stop you. It's just, it has that weird effect. And I don't know if you've had those movies where you're like, I know what's going to happen and I still don't want it to happen, but I'm still watching, hoping it won't happen. You have that kind of weird dichotomy of behavior, I guess. It's really, really good.
Bruce, did this movie, was it unfairly ignored during award season? Because there was a big, like you said, to do about it. It was up front and center as far as putting it out there for your consideration season. How do you feel?
Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, there was a lot of great stuff out there this year, but I think this definitely, I'd have to go back and see who else was in the conversation. I feel like at least 1 or 2 roles could have been nominated here easily. There's a lot of great, especially I'd say Zac Efron, and maybe for supporting actor Holt would be kind of easy gives for this movie. And it looks great. It just kind of has that sundown 80s, 70s kind of heat to it. This just is really good.
Okay. That is the Iron Claw. Your rating, Bruce?
I'll probably go 4.5 on it. No reason it's not 5 per se. It's just really good, but it didn't quite make it to 5 for me. But I think it's a little long, I guess. That would be one thing for some people. But to me, it didn't feel long because you have so many characters to follow that you have all the stories to kind of wrap up. So I think if you are interested at all, even if you don't think you're interested in wrestling, this is a human story. So I think that's one thing I would tell people who are pushed off by the wrestling part,
Okay. All right. So you have a couple more picks. One of them is in preparation for Furiosa.
Yeah, in preparation for your Furiosa, I finally caught up with the Netflix limited series, Queen's Gambit. Not much to say. I mean, it was a big hit, 3 years ago or whenever it was. Yeah. It dropped on Netflix. I was always pushed away a little bit because, there's this series about chess. It doesn't sound very exciting to me. It's really more of this is actually kind of a real crowd pleaser, the way it's presented. I don't know if you watched it, Greg.
Yeah, I love that. I love the series.
Honestly, they talk a lot about chess moves and stuff, but they never really get into the nitty gritty. So you don't ever really have to understand the chess moves. You just have to know that they're all really good at it. And in a sense, it's almost like they're super geniuses of their particular type. So really it just becomes almost a competition series. It's a series about people trying to be the best. Like it could be boxing, it could be like we're talking about wrestling, it could be anything like that where you have an underdog. In her case, she's a woman in a field that's pretty much predominantly men. And it's also a story about addiction and loss and believing mentorship, and also the whole thing about artists can only be artists when they're altered. People there's that weird thing where you only believe you can be a true artist if you're on substances and stuff. She has kind of a version of that. She only believes she can be really truly this great chess master when she's on stuff. And it also has, on top of that, it has the whole appeal of kind of Mad Men, this kind of period piece of that 50s 60s kind of style going on there too. It's just a lot of fun, and you really get to see Anya Taylor-Joy kind of step out and really take on a starring role, I think for one of the first times where she just had to own something this big. And I'm looking forward to seeing what she does in Furiosa. I think she has it. I think she can do it.
We also have to mention a lot of great supporting actors. Mention all of them here, but Bill Camp as the custodian in her school, who becomes pretty much her mentor, her first chess mentor, Mr. Shabel. He's fantastic in this movie.
Yes.
And also director/actress Muriel Heller, who plays one of, I guess, maybe a stepmother of Beth. She is very, very
fantastic.
Good as well. As Alma, she's sort of a little bit of a wastrel, but no matter what, she still loves her stepdaughter. She's very, very good. Muriel Heller is so talented because she's also a very successful director. So I think she did that Mr. Rogers movie with, A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood back in 2019.
And I love these limited series that are 7 episodes, one and done. Because you have all the stakes, anything can happen. You're not sure what's going to happen. People might die, whatever. They don't have to find a reason to continue it. It tells its story and it finishes it. And I really love that. And it was great, a great watch.
And to put a button on it, the series puts a great button on it where you don't have to have a second season of the Queen's Gambit. The ending is fantastic. So it's not one of these open-ended situations. So I really loved how this series ended.
This movie, once again, I will put the sports metaphor on this. This movie plays like a sports movie. So you are waiting for Rocky to finally fight Drago, Will it happen? In this version of this world, yes, it will happen, and they'll let you have an outcome that actually is one way or the other, no doubt, and you leave it with that. So, yeah.
Okay, and final recommendation is a Terrence Malick classic, which made 2 stars out of very young people on the run, lovers on the lam.
Yes. I watched Badlands finally
Only 2
again,
stars?
I guess. Was that?
You only gave Badlands 2 stars. That's
Yeah,
low.
only 2 stars.
I'm sorry. Wait, how many stars did you give the Queen's Gambit?
Oh, what? 5. I give 5.
5. Yeah.
Yeah, it was fantastic.
And Badlands gets 2 stars. Gotcha. All right, go ahead.
1973. I had seen parts of it, I'm sure, many times in my life. I feel like I'd watched the movie, but I don't. You know, you have those movies like that, and you feel like you've watched them, and then 20 years later, you're like, have I ever watched that movie? I'm going to sit down and watch it. And when you watch it, you're like, I don't think I ever watched this movie all the way through. So I had that experience with this movie. It really is. Oh, and I forgot to write down the name of the actual murderers that it's based on. But,
Starkweather.
Yes, Starkweather.
I think he's from close to where I grew up at. I think.
Yay.
Nebraska.
Yeah, so it loosely tells the story of the Starkweather, but it's not by name in this movie, but that's obviously who it's about. Also, versions of that have been done by, most famously, Tarantino kind of did it with True Romance and kind of did it with, what's the other one? Natural Born Killers. Those are both kind of versions of the story too, but this is a very young Sissy Spacek and a very young Martin Sheen, and basically he's a garbage man, ne'er-do-well, mid-20s dude kind of wandering through small town America, and he just wanders into the yard of Sissy Spacek, who's a 15-year-old girl twirling her baton, and essentially starts hanging out with her and dating her, and they start killing people and going across the country in the process. And it's really interesting to watch, not only just in its own right as a pretty excellent movie and a very excellent debut movie as a director, but it's really interesting to see early Malick and to see, like, here's all the stuff that Malick does, shooting nature and these, golden hour shots and all this weird stuff, but also having a very kind of traditional narrative built into that as well. So you kind of can feel the pull of what Malick will become versus this early kind of more traditional storytelling in the midst of it. And it's very interesting in that kind of filmmaking aspect as well. And it's just entertaining and well done. It's 90 minutes, which also might be a shortest movie he's ever made. I'm guessing one of the shortest, if not the shortest. And also super young Sissy Spacek being amazing. There's also, the last thing I'd mention in this that I think is kind of impressive is there's this sort of bored evil, they're just like, kind of like when you get those kids that just don't seem like anything matters. They're just sitting there and it's like, well, I'm sitting here. I guess I'll pull the wings off this fly.
That's scary.
That's kind of how they kill people in this. It's just like, well, this person saw us, so they don't even talk about it. It's like, I guess I'm going to kill him. That's just how it's presented, kind of. And in a weird, chilling way, that's probably more true to life than all of the other crazy over-the-top versions of things you see. And someone pointed out in the comments, 'cause I posted, I was watching it, and a lot of people were saying, oh, we love this movie or whatever. And I forgot to write down who it was that mentioned this, and mentioned that the score for True Romance is an absolute riff on this score, and I did not have a clue. And I went back and listened to him, like, oh yeah, hell yeah, Hans Zimmer absolutely took. And I probably would say it if you asked him and say, oh yeah, I knew what I was doing. This is a big chunk of that score because I wanted to recreate that mood in people's minds.
I just assumed they reused it.
I don't think it's considered exactly reused, but it's like the motif is right there.
Or at least a cover of the song. Yeah, because it sounds almost exactly. I remember it being the exact same song.
Yeah, it's iconic.
Pretty darn close.
Yeah, very iconic. Bruce, this movie is widely beloved, obviously, very serious subject matter. Do you see it, why it gets so much love even to this day, or do you see some flaws?
Yeah, I do. I do see why it's beloved to this day. I mean, I probably don't go 5 stars, but this is one of those that could become 5 stars to me. It's probably 4.5 for me.
Sure.
It's a little rough around the edges in certain parts. Some of the voiceover, even though some of the voiceover is great, some of the voiceover is a little bit like, okay, we just have to fill in the gaps a little bit with something, as opposed to, that if Malick had done this 10, 20 years later, he'd have no voiceover. He would let it just be, so.
Okay, so 4.5 stars from you, Bruce Purkey, for Badlands.
Yep.
Okay, very, very good. Yeah, very good. You watched a lot of stuff. Thank you so much for your recommendations. And before we close the show, Eric, very quickly on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, you spent some hard-earned money, not as much as the $50 you spent on Ginsu knives from Pitch People, but movie worth a watch in your local Cineplex.
I think it is. I was kind of worried about it. I mentioned this last week that I like the new Apes movies. All 3 of them are pretty good, and it's a pretty good, solid trilogy.
They said this movie was not
Why-
as good
why-
as the trilogy. Yeah, why? But the thing
Why
is,
do a fourth one
Right.
when you already
Sure.
got through 3 of them? They're all good. You got yourself a perfect trilogy. Why mess it up with the fourth one? I don't think they mess it up. I think this one's really, really good. Kind of made me excited for another one of these because, again, doing this is a risk because you're, kind of like doing Toy Story 4. It's like you nailed it on Toy Story 3. Why do another one? And Toy Story 4 turned out fine, but I think this one kind of steps it up for a number of reasons. One, we're finally in the Planet of the Apes. Starts off with Caesar, last week on War of the Planet of the Apes, and Caesar's dead. They put him in a funeral pyre, and then it skips ahead like generations. Imagine like a couple hundred years, but who knows how many years passed since then. The apes have fully taken over at this point, and then humans are still around, but they're more like animals. They don't talk. They're kind of dumb. The apes and the humans have fully swapped places from what they are currently. We get to live in that world for a while, and then we come across. We start off with Noah. He's kind of the main character in this, and
yeah,
they come across an orangutan. I think they go by something Caesar, but either way, this orangutan.
Proximus Caesar, played by Kevin Durand. Maybe?
No. That's the bad guy.
Okay,
but I think the orangutan. I can't remember because I didn't write it down. But the orangutan has a different name, but like kind of basically he follows the teachings of Caesar, as do a bunch of the other apes. They're basically all corrupting Caesar's actual intentions. Like, for instance, when they do finally get to Proximus Caesar, he talks about how Caesar says that ape work with ape, and together we stronger. And then what he doesn't, but the way he interprets that is use ape as slaves, and all together they build great things. I'm like, I don't think that's what Caesar had in mind. Like, you take something someone says, twist it just a little bit to suit your own needs, and all of a sudden becomes evil. So, I mean, the main theme of this is just corrupted history, and that happens. I mean, we deal with that since we've had history pretty much. And so it's really smart, really deep. And on top of that, you get a cool fantasy action blockbuster out of it.
how's Freya Allen as May, as the main human? Pretty good. May?
Yeah, well, so I shouldn't talk much about that character because that would involve some spoilers, but yes, I'll just say yes.
Okay.
There's one part in particular where her character, they call them echoes. Like, echoes are humans. I don't know why, because humans are already a word. Why add another word that means something else in English? But regardless, they call humans echoes for some reason. There's a scene where May and Noah find themselves in an observatory, and there's this giant telescope, and Noah's like looking through it. And it's all, it's been around for however long. So it's kind of the glass on it's kind of all dirty and stuff. But he's just kind of looking through the telescope. He's like, that's kind of cool. And then May comes in, and then she looks through the telescope. And then like Noah's looking at her going, there's something there. Like there's more inside than we think there are. And that was kind of like one of the cool turning points. It was a really beautiful scene, the way they put it together. Okay. This is kind of feels like, if they're going to take this much care with the Apes movies, just keep going. And, this doesn't feel like a cash grab. This feels like someone that had something to say and wanted to use the Apes kind of lore to do that. And I think they did a great job with it.
Oh, so this is on the same level as the trilogy, in your opinion?
I kind of like this a little better, but yeah, at least as good.
Hey, okay. So what is your rating on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes currently in theaters?
I would probably give this one 4 stars. Probably 4.5. Give it that little extra bump just because, they took this didn't have to be good. This could have been a cash grab, and they took a little more care with it than I think they would have otherwise. And it's kind of setting up more Apes movies, but like the ideas that they have in these gives me hope that if they do any more, that they also are going to have a lot of care taken with them.
All right, directed by the Maze Runner filmmaker Wes Ball, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes.
Apparently, he's doing a Legend of Zelda movie, and based on this,
wow,
can't wait.
4.5 stars.
Well, he didn't write it, so maybe but
he still directed it. Bruce, I'm surprised you didn't go see it. Maybe you're just been too busy to watch it? Would you have probably, if you had more time, watch it over the weekend?
I don't think my kids were too interested in watching it, so we were just hanging back until we can get our Furiosa money together. I think that's where we're up next.
Well, Bruce, since you're saving your money and you don't want to go see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, you can go to cinematicspodcast.com right now and get a Cinemadix pickleball paddle set for the low price of $66.69.
Very good.
And you're going to go out in summertime, you're going to get hot. Go get yourself a premium tank top. It's banger season, Bruce, and you can get one at cinematicspodcast.com for the low price of $25.69.
What if I get all sweaty and I need to take a shower? What do I do then?
Well, I mean, you can take a shower, but you're just going to make a mess without a shower curtain. And where could one possibly get a shower curtain? Oh, I don't know. Maybe cinematics.podcast.com. You can get yourself a Cinematics shower curtain for the low introductory price of $49.69. But act now, because that price will shoot up to $69.69 here in a month. So you got to act quick. And Bruce, you don't want a wet floor in the bathroom. You save that for the nights you get drunk and you miss the toilet. And if you do that, we do have Cinematics towels on cinematics.podcast.com.
Very good. You are our pitch person on a weekly basis. You are the nominee. You are nominated. You are very good at pitching stuff. Eric Holmes, have more confidence in your ability. You are very, very good. Thank God.
You know what? I gave pitch people 3.5. I need to bump that up to 4 because it actually did help.
It looks at pitch people has made Eric Holmes a more confident pitch person. That's
I will say
value added.
No joke. Pitch People currently has 3.5. If we sell anything this week, I'm officially bumping that up to a 4.
Wow. Very good.
Yes, you can buy reviews by going to cinematics.podcast.com.
Eric has crossed the line and I love it. Okay, we are done with this episode. Final thoughts, Eric Holmes. Do you even have any more thoughts after that wonderful epic pitch? Any other thing you want to say?
You know what? I don't have much to say. I know that if you notice behind me, I got a bunch of posters on the wall, but not everyone has that. A lot of times you'll go in a house and it's kind of bare and there's like just white walls everywhere. In fact, you look at a lot of indie movies, like student movies, the walls are all white and boring looking.
Yes.
Well, we got ourselves some posters at cinematics.podcast.com. So go right there and pick yourself up some wall art and then decorate it, much like I have up here with the I Am Legend poster and a bucket of blood poster in front of me. And you know what? The Metropolis one isn't up there, but maybe I'll put it back up on cinematics.podcast.com.
Okay. Well, very good, Eric Holmes, on that pitch. A lot of great posters back. Here's a little bit to TMI. When I was a sophomore at UCLA, my wall was inundated with pictures of Cindy Crawford. What a creepo I was. Maybe I still am a creepo. I don't know, Bruce. Final thoughts.
I would just say in mind of Bucket of Blood, maybe we should just mention rest in peace, Roger Corman.
Yes, rest in peace, Roger Corman. Great filmmaker, great producer.
Paul Schrader misses him greatly.
Yeah, very good. Paul Schrader, he should have.
Do you guys see that?
Yeah, he was saying a couple of things about. Yeah, that was
a family show.
Show. But we love you, Roger Corman. Hope you, wherever you are, rest in peace. And yeah, a horrible transition, but here's Claire.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for joining Cinematics.